When the mushrooms I could feel it in my head. Ribs I had tingling, been laughing all night. Drank till the last glass we could barely see. It was so brighter to see. Darkness is falling all over my face. Memories standing our like angry birds. I'm reaching for a place where my voice would ever reach. Can you hear my crying out? Reaching for the stars above the skies. My voice will never sound like it used to. 'Cause I can only cry for her one more night. One more night. Yeah. One more night. Yeah. Or I can only cry for her. Get the happy spoke. Have a future and the dreams to come. But the pieces we could miss a count. We are like best friends, even your deny that we are a best by on a weekend when he was in the mood of making diamonds and many things that I like. And then to the angels who were singing that time, can you hear my crying eyes? Reaching for those stars above the skies. My voice never sound like it used to. Is I can only cry for her. Can you hear my crying eyes? Reaching for the stars above the skies. My voice never sound like it used to. 'Cause I can only cry for one more night. Oh, for one more night. Oh, for one more night. Yeah. Or I can only cry for one more night. Oh, one more night. Yeah. One more night. I can only cry for one more night. Or I can only cry for one more night.
Good afternoon, all, and welcome to the first workshop of our for today under the theme of Future-Proofing Women for Change. Thank you all for attending today. I'm so happy to see you all. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Nomsa Ngoma, who is going to be talking to design thinking. So over to you, Nomsa.
All right. Hi, everyone. Can everyone see my screen? You can see my screen.
Yes, we can see it.
Yes. Thank you, Nabila. Okay, thank you for the brief introduction. I'll just share my video as well so everyone can see me. Okay, so we'll be talking about design thinking. Welcome, everyone. I will give a brief introduction about myself. I'm Nomsa Ngoma. I'm Project Development and Innovation Consultant at Hybrid Group. I work in the innovation space. I'm also a design thinking facilitator, and I've worked with startups and different entrepreneurs and consulting with them to make sure that they have a product that is actually valuable for the market that they're trying to go into. So that's a little bit about me. This session is just an introduction to design thinking. There are many different elements about design thinking, but for many business owners and for SME owners and startup founders and entrepreneurs, the design thinking principles are very useful and a good way to start and to make sure that whatever problem you're solving is actually a real problem as well. Okay, so the session is going to be interactive, so please make sure that you're ready to type in the chat or you're ready to answer questions. And the first question that I have for you is, what do you know about design thinking? You're welcome to unmute your microphone if you'd like, or you can just type it in the chat and let me know what you know about design thinking. Have you heard of it before? Is this the first time? Is there anything that do you have any thoughts about it? So you can just let me know in the chat if you'd like to do that. Or you can unmute your microphone. Let me see what's being said in the chat. Okay, so Liseli says she's heard of design thinking as an approach to creating products and services. I think Liseli's the only one. Oh, okay. Dorothy says she hasn't heard about it. Okay, so we have two people who have said that they've heard about it and they haven't heard about it, which is fine. I think, like I said, it is a very useful tool for problem solving. So we're just going to dive right in. If you have any other thoughts or any other questions, please feel free to type in the chat as well. We can get to the questions at the end. Okay, wait, my slides have frozen. Okay, there we go. All right, so design thinking is a methodology that provides a solution-based approach to problem solving. It centers the user or the customer and whatever problem is being solved for. So when you're thinking about design thinking, if there's anything that you take from this session, just remember that design thinking centers the user in whatever problem is being solved for. And not only is it centering the user, but it's also working with the user to solve the problem. So I think in the business case, I think as entrepreneurs, sometimes we find that we find ourselves looking at problems and seeing problems all around us and thinking, okay, that could be a good business idea. How do we solve this? And we don't always ask the people that we want to solve for if that's an actual problem. That happens a lot in the development space as well, where people come with solutions and they think, okay, this is a good this is a good solution because it works in America, because it works in Europe. So we're going to come to Africa, we're going to come to, to these rural areas, and we're going to bring them this solution, and it's supposed to work. And then you find that the people are like, okay, no, this isn't really a problem for us. So design thinking works to solve that. And the 5 stages of design thinking are empathize, define, ideate, prototyping, and testing. So these are also non-linear. You start with empathizing, but you don't necessarily always end with testing. It's just that this is a nice 5-step solution for all of us to work with. Okay, so our first case study is mobile money. So I'm based in Lusaka, Zambia, and mobile money is like your e-wallet solution. And I think in South Africa, you also have e-wallets. So when mobile money came to Zambia, they targeted middle income earners. So we have 3 main telcos. We have Airtel, we have MTN, and we have Zamtel. So Airtel and MTN, when they first started working with mobile money, they targeted middle income earners. They targeted people who shop at Woolies, ShopRite Select, or Checkers, and other high-end places. Adoption was low and the service flopped. What do you think went wrong? Do we have anyone who wants to give an answer about what they think went wrong in terms of mobile money? Because if you think about mobile money, it's essentially, you can, on your phone, you have your e-wallet, you have your wallet that you can put money in, and you can send it to whoever else has is on the same telco or is not. But essentially it's useful because it's USSD, you don't need to download an app, and it's easy to use. So if you're thinking about it, what are your thoughts? Maybe you can unmute your microphone for this one. What are your thoughts around why adoption was low, and what do you think went wrong?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi everyone. My name is Liseli. So for me, from what you said, thinking research, right, or even like the first step, empathize, that maybe there wasn't enough research done on the market to actually see what the need was in terms of this functionality that they're trying to introduce into the market. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
Okay, thank you, Liseli. Anyone else have any answers? I think there's some people typing in the chat. Let me check. Okay, so Heidi says research and development was not done prior to introducing the product. Okay, and yeah, Liseli also added wrong target market. Okay, or the pack of research into who wanted that functionality. Thank you for those answers. Both of you are correct. So you can see that research and the target market. So if you go and you ask the people who shop at Woolies, maybe that's middle income earners, that might be some of us in the room. If people who shop at Woolies, generally, when we go to Woolworths, when we go to Checkers or Pick and Pay, we don't want to use mobile money because it can be tedious. You're not trying to pay with a wallet to start, hash star 123 hash to do the whole thing. You'll take out your debit card and you swipe it and you go home. Essentially, that's what happens. But not everybody has a debit card, right? And not everyone has a bank account for that matter. So once these telcos, once Airtel and MTN realized that actually the people that they need to be targeting are the unbanked, in inverted commas, adoption, like they hit the ground running. People were very interested. People started adopting the USSD platform. They started adopting mobile money as a service, and they started using it. And now a lot of people actually prefer using mobile money because it's very easy to use and it's ubiquitous. And you don't need the same KYC as you would if you were to go to a bank. You don't need your proof of residence. You don't need all the extra things. You just need your ID. And you can send to anyone, and the amount of money that can be kept in your mobile money account is upwards of, I think now the limit is like 250,000 or something like that. So you can see that actually doing proper research and asking your customers what it is that they need is very useful. So back to our design thinking. And our first stage is empathize. So research and understand your users' needs. Conduct user research. With design thinking, asking of questions is very important. Question your assumptions. I think sometimes you might go into a township or a compound, as we call them, and think, okay, no, this is what these people need, and you assume that this is what they need, but it's not what they need. When you ask people what they need, often they'll tell you what they need, and it's up to you to decide if that's a problem that you want to solve. So it's very important when you're asking questions to ask the questions in a way that is not giving the solution. That's what empathy is about. You put yourself in their shoes and you ask them, okay, what are your pain points? What do you value? What is your experience of ABC? Instead of coming and saying, okay, well, I'm creating a bank and I think you guys need this. So, what do you think? But usually a lot of the time, most people don't want to say no, and they don't want to upset other people as well. So even if they don't necessarily need it, they might say, yeah, no, actually, that's a good idea. You'll come into a space and say, yeah, no, so I think poor people need, or let me not call them poor people, lower income people need a certain service. I think this delivery service will work very well. Or for example, an edtech, online learning, because COVID. Online learning, people in these areas need online learning because some of them can't afford to go to school. And you think that you're going to now develop an online learning service for people in lower income areas. And if you ask the people in lower income areas, maybe they'll tell you that actually we can't afford data and we can't afford computers. So where are we going to be doing this online learning from? So that's where empathy comes in, and immersing yourself in the context. As an entrepreneur or as a person who wants to solve problems and find solutions, it's important to spend time in your customer or your user's context. You can choose a persona, you choose somebody, a lady who maybe sells vegetables or something like that, and you spend the day with her, see what she sees, see the world through her eyes. How is she receiving money? How many sales is she making? Where does she get her vegetables from? Does she get a supplier? Does she go to the market to get a supplier? Does she sit and sell in the same place all day? Does she move around? Just understanding what her context is, understanding what her experience is, and understanding how whatever solution you are wanting to bring, where it will fit in and how it will fit in and what problems it will solve. Understanding the journey that your user takes as well. So for example, with mobile money, you'd want to find out, okay, if she's collecting, does she have a phone? First of all, does she have a phone to use mobile money? Where does she make withdrawals from? Does she deposit money? How much does she deposit at the end of the day? Does she take the money home? Does she prefer to take the money home, or is the place that she stays safe or not safe? So she feels like it's better to deposit the money at the end of the day. Those are questions that you ask. And you're asking these questions to understand the user. You're not asking these questions so that you can sell them your solution at the end of the day. That's the really important part of design thinking. It's human-centered at the end of the day and user-centered as well. Okay. The next stage is define. So state your users' needs and problems. So now you've done your research. If you're one person or you're two people, maybe hopefully you're more than one person, but now you've done your research. So you use the information gathered to define the problems, right? So what are the themes that are coming up? Okay, so now I've sat with this lady. I've looked at, some of the things, maybe my idea is, some kind of fintech app or some kind of wallet. So these are the themes that are coming up. I see she wakes up at 5 o'clock every day. She lives in a part of town that is, not that safe. She travels across town. She travels to the market first to get a big, her vegetables, and then she travels to another market where she sells her vegetables. What are the themes? These are the things, these are the questions that you want to answer for yourself. And then you craft problem statements. So you can say, okay, so what we found out was this woman, let's call her a lady, she wakes up at 5 a.m. and this is what she does. But at the end of the day, she needs to put the money She needs to put the money away, and she needs to deposit the money, but it's very unsafe. That's a problem. Okay. Another problem is she travels long distances every day. That's another problem. She has to, she travels to 2 different markets and gets on 2 different taxis to pay the money. Sorry, not to pay the money, to pick up the vegetables and then to sell the vegetables. That's another problem. So you can see that you're crafting these problem statements that that you are now going to want to solve, right? And that's the main point of also using design thinking, because you're stating your users' needs and you're stating their problems. And because you've really immersed yourself in the context, you understand that the problems are real problems, and you've asked her, like, how do you feel about this? Where do you, how do you feel about taking 2 taxis? How much does that cost you every day? How much do you spend on these things? Those are the things that you want to find out, and they will help you actually, create a solution that's actually useful. Okay, the next one, number 3, is ideate. Challenge your assumptions and create ideas. So now we've been doing a bunch of research. We've asked, maybe hopefully more than one person, because it's always useful to ask more than one person. So challenge your assumptions and all the things you assumed about this marketeer. Let's say she's a marketeer. You thought that maybe she just, comes and she sits here all day and she just tries to sell vegetables. You didn't know that she travels. So she wakes up so early in the morning. You didn't know she travels with 2 taxis. So now those assumptions are being challenged. So it's important at the ideation stage to brainstorm the innovative solutions. Any ideas that you may have, any solutions that you may have, you write them down. A lot of the time we have post-its. So you write all your post-its, you write all your ideas on the post-its, and it doesn't matter if they're bad ideas. Initially, you just want all the ideas on the table. You want all the brainstorming on the table. If you have a co-founder or a partner or somebody who's working with you, or some friends, or if you're in the office, for example, even, you get some people together and we think about, okay, what are these solutions that we might have? How do we solve this problem for this person? How might we solve this problem for this person, right? So we ask how might we questions, because how might we questions help us think about solutions. How might we make it easier for this marketeer to get from point A to point B? How might we find a way to make it safer for her to deposit the money into her mobile money account? You diverge and you converge. So diverging is you come from having 500 ideas that might not be amazing, and then you converge to find maybe 10 or 5 really great ideas. So you want to have as many ideas as possible, because they might solve different, they might solve the problem at different points, right? So initially, maybe the problem that we are trying to solve is her not having a bank account, and we're trying to give her our wallet, right? So along the line, we might find that, okay, maybe there's some extra features that we can add, and those bad ideas might become a feature, right? So it's important to, initially, you want to choose your best ideas, because those are the ideas that you want to start with. So you choose the best idea and the best solution that will solve the initial problem. After that, you can add different, you can add different elements and different things that might do really well for you as well. Okay, and then we have prototyping. So after identifying the best possible solution, you want to create a basic version of the product or service, and you want to also experiment with a small group of people. I think some of you might be familiar with A/B testing. It's usually done in marketing, and also investigate the user's experience. So once we've identified the best possible solution, or the best 2 possible solutions, for example, or the top 5 if you have, the version of the product or service. So what you can do is actually you sit with the people that you are with, and you draw a rapid prototype. So sometimes prototyping, if it's a tech solution, you will still have to draw a basic version of it so that you can understand, okay, this is what we want it to look like. So we have the sheet of paper, and you're going to draw exactly what your solution is. If it's not a tech solution, that's also fine. You can also just draw all the steps that are taken. So for example, we're creating a wallet. What is that wallet going to look like? what problems is it solving? Okay, so we know that our marketeer, maybe she's using a feature phone. She's not using a smartphone. So how do we want this to look? Is it going to be a USSD menu, a USSD function with USSD functionality? Do we want to create an app? And if it's an app, how is she going to use it? Who are we solving for at the end of the day? Are we wanting to focus on informal traders? Are we wanting to focus on the informal market? Or are we wanting to focus on people who are able to afford smartphones? So when you're designing your prototype, that's what you will do. You'll think about those things, and you'll have your screens. Let's say you have 10 screens, and you'll say, okay, this is what's going to be on each screen. This is how we're going to solve this problem. Or for example, if it's not a tech solution, you'll do the same thing and say, okay, we're creating a manual for people to be able to know how to do ABC. So you also show the steps taken for creating that manual as well. You just want a prototype so that you can take the prototype to experiment with a small group of people. So on one hand, if you have two solutions, let's say you have your USSD functionality and you have your app, you'll go and test with different people and you'll bring them into the room. And the difference with this, so you can have a focus group. You can have a focus group, but the thing with focus groups is that a lot of the time you're doing, and this is what are your feelings about it? But with design thinking, it's about really putting the user at the center of what you're doing, designing with the user, right? So here we have our USSD platform. What are your thoughts on this USSD platform? So when you use it, you're going to say, okay, no, I don't like that I have to sign in here. I don't like that the verification code is taking really long to get to my phone. Or for example, I don't like that I have to input my ID number. I think that, I don't trust, websites. I don't trust, computers that much, or e-commerce or anything like that. So I don't want to put my ID number on this platform because I don't know where it's going. What are you doing with my information? Things like that you have to take into consideration. So when you hear those types of things, you're investigating the user's experience of your platform or your product or your service, and you come back and you iterate and you say, okay, this is what they said. So based on the feedback, we're going to come back and we're going to make some changes, because the majority of the people who use this said, no, they don't like that we've asked them for their ID number, or they don't like that we asked them for a photo or something like that. So you come back and you've investigated the user's experience, and you're going to say, okay, we're going to make some changes, because that's what design thinking is about. It's about being iterative and changing things and being flexible. In fact, not just changing things, but being flexible and being able to say, okay, we were going in this direction, but now we're going to pivot and we're going to go in another direction, because it's based on what the feedback is, and based on what our consumers and our users are saying about this product. Okay, and then testing. So prototyping, after you prototyped with a small group of people, you can test and put something on the market, right? So testing your solutions to understand the product and the user. It's always good to put something on the market, because once you put something on the market, you get feedback and you ask questions. And this is obviously different because now you actually have a product. So this is the end of the stages. So you have the solution. This is what you're saying. Okay, this is our solution. We were asking you questions in the beginning about your experience, and based on that, we created this. What do you think? And one of the things I think as entrepreneurs, we tend to like our ideas. When somebody gives you feedback, when somebody gives you criticism, we really get offended, and we really think, but I worked really hard on that. It's a really good idea. I know that there's some people who will, really like this idea, and it will solve so many people's problems, but the point of these stages, and the point of doing this research, is finding out that it might not be a really great idea, as great as you thought, and when you get that feedback, it's important for you to hold your ideas loosely. It's important for you to be able to say, okay, I feel really married to this idea, but I shouldn't be, because if somebody comes and gives me feedback, that feedback is for my own good, right? It's not, people aren't giving you feedback based on how they feel about you. A lot of the time, people give you feedback based on your solution. So it's nothing personal. And it's important to take your emotions out of the equation so that you actually have a solution that will work, right? A solution that is solving real problems. And so, like what we were saying, for example, you come with an online edtech, an edtech solution, and here you are thinking that, these people have missed a lot of school because of COVID or whatever. So I'm going to come and give them an edtech solution, and then they tell you that no, we don't even have computers. So where are we going to be doing this from? And now you've created a whole platform for people to learn online. And so now you need to go back and say, okay, well, where did we go wrong? And how do we now get this service, and how do we now get this solution to the people that we actually want to serve, and the people who are actually having problems with this. And so it's always important, and it's imperative as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, to listen to feedback. I think feedback makes or breaks you. A lot of the time, people think that feedback is just okay, like it's something that people are just saying. But people won't come back to your business because you didn't listen to their feedback. There are many businesses that have failed because they didn't listen to feedback. Because at the end of the day, your users and your consumers and your customers are the ones who are paying for the service. So you want to hear what they have to say, and you want to make sure that they have a good experience. And user experience is king in these areas. Okay. All right, so at the end of the day, design thinking is an iterative process, right? It's about, like I've said, and I think I've said this a lot, it's about going back to the drawing board. It's about listening, actively listening to what people are saying, and making sure that whatever they're saying, you are implementing, right? So if more than one person is telling you that, no, you know what, actually, I don't like this platform. It's very clunky. I don't like that I can't pay with my phone. I don't like all these things. It's up to you as the business owner. It's up to you as the customer service person to go back and say, well, how do we change this? What can we change? How can we, make this difference? I remember seeing on I think it was on LinkedIn, because Standard Bank has an app, and they somebody was on LinkedIn complaining about the fact that when you log back into the app, it says, hello, user. And they were just like, Standard Bank, isn't this like very basic as shouldn't you, when I come back to this app, it knows who I am. I've put in my password. It knows that it's me. Why is it saying hello, user? It's very impersonal. And I think, and Standard Bank, paid attention, because now when you go on the app, it greets you and says, hello, Nomsa, And so those are very small things that, you think that, like, okay, I mean, it's not a big deal, but somebody thinks it's a big deal, and because of that, they feel very irritated using your product, and now when you make those changes, they're like, oh, they heard us, they listened to us. And now I'm going to continue using this app because it's whether it's useful to me or not, but it actually is really nice when the people that you're talking to listen to what you have to say. And when you give them feedback, it's not just talking to a wall. They recognize that as the customer and as a user, you're an important part of, whatever the work is that they're doing. Okay. All right. So finally, actually come to the end. Finally, hold your ideas loosely. Like I said, listen to feedback, center the user. I said in the beginning, if there's anything that you take from this session, it's that you should center the user. Work with your user, be co-creative. Don't think that you have, okay, I found this solution and I'm just going to run with it. Ask people for feedback. Whenever you go into the shops, there's people with samples and things like that. They're always testing you, always testing, okay, does this taste good? What do you think? How many people ate this sample? How many people bought the product after they ate the sample? The same way, whatever you're doing as a business, it's important for you to ask those questions, center the user, work with them when you're creating your product and your solution, and make sure that they know that, okay, this is for me. And I'm being heard and I'm being listened to as well. Okay. All right. These are my contacts. This is me. We've come to the end. So this is my email address, nomsa.ngoma@hypergroup.net, and you can also follow me on LinkedIn. But do we have any questions, or is there anything that you would like to ask before we move on to the next slide? Yes, listen.
Hi, I just wanted to say thank you so much for what you just showed us. It was really in a bite-sized way and easy to take in as well, which I really enjoyed it. So just wanted to say thank you.
Yeah. Okay, anyone else? Or while you're thinking about some questions, actually, what we like to do is to ask, I liked, I wish, I wonder. And that is a good way of getting feedback, because, you know, feedback is important. So you can let me know what you liked, what you wish, and what you're wondering about. I might pick somebody from the participants list. Mbali, can you let us know what you liked and what you wish and what you wonder? You can unmute
Okay.
your microphone.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. Very insightful presentation. I think for me, it came at the right time. Sorry, came at the right time. I've just started my business, so which means that I need to make sure that my products, as much as it's services, but I still need to make sure that they are for the right market, and I understand exactly what my customers need from me. So I think this is really assisted as a thought process of how to get there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mbali. Who else is on this list? Khadi.
Hi, Nomsa.
Hi.
Thank you so much for the session. It really opened my eyes as a new business owner. I think it was great that I attended the session. Then I liked the importance of centering the user. I was just saying thumbs up to Liseli because she commented about that in the chat box. So I also like that because we like sharing the information, but we do not pay attention. We do not listen to how the product will address a need, or what is the need of your consumer. So centering the user, understanding their needs, I think it's very important. So I like that. And then I wish that in my business going forward, I will apply design thinking, and I also encourage my team to do the same so that we can grow my business to bigger heights. And I wonder if my products will be accepted in the market, but after this presentation, I'll just follow the steps and do the right things and make sure that I get feedback until I get it right. Thank you, Nomsa.
Thank you. That was really nice. Thank you for that. I'm glad it was useful for you. Anyone else or any questions? Or should I have a look at the chat? Okay, I think Regina has said, thank you for the session, very enlightening. And yes, Wanda has also said thank you as well. Okay, yeah, oh, sorry. Yeah, so if you have any questions, you're also welcome to ask. And like I think Nabila has mentioned in the chat, I am available. You can email me if you'd like to as well, because you know this is the work that I do within the innovation space. There is a lot more that can be talked about under design thinking, but I didn't want to share everything in this one side. But this will be very useful for you when you're you know, going out into the market, when you're trying to test with your customers, when you're trying to test with different users. It will definitely help in making sure that you're actually solving a real problem, and making sure that, you know, the people that you the people that you think are your customers and your target market are your actual target market and your actual customers as well. So if there are no other questions, if nobody wants to ask anything, thank you everybody for joining the session. I think it's recorded, so if you would like to, you can request the recording, or it's also on YouTube as well, so you can always rewatch if you need to do that as well. I will hand this over to Nabila, but thank you so much for attending. It really was a pleasure to have you women as well. I think we really, women are very, like, we're a lot of us are entrepreneurs, and a lot of us, it's always good to have skills that make sure that we're successful. So it was a pleasure to have everybody in this session. Thank you. And I'll stop sharing my screen. Back to you, Nabila.
Thank you so much, Nomsa. That was really enlightening, and I'm sure everyone was inspired now to go do some design thinking. So are we sure that we don't have any questions for Nomsa? Because I mean, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity where you get to interact with Nomsa face to face. So while we're wrapping up, if you guys have any questions, you may put it in the chat box. But I just want to thank everyone for joining us today, and I hope that you all have a lovely evening. If anyone wants to join our second session, it's the topic's Madam Chair, Take the Lead. You are more than welcome to go on our Picket page or on our Linktree page, or even our YouTube page, and then we'll see you all at 6 p.m. So thank you everyone for joining, and have a lovely evening.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Life is a journey. We are all traveling. Kure kwanda kabai koi here I have been traveling. Life is a journey. We are still traveling. Kure kwandi koendai koi we are all still traveling. Kanango mayorira na so terera iwe. Oda izirango mena so pembera. Ube you would kudu kuwana we. Break a leg, my friend. Kanango mayorira na so terera. Kanango mayorira na so terera iwe. Oda izirango mena so pembera. Ube you would kudu kuwana we. Break a leg, my friend. Can I go mayorita? Not so terera. Life is a journey. Yeah, we are all traveling. Here I have been traveling. Well, life is a journey. We are still traveling. What you and I go, yeah, we're all still traveling. Kanango mayorira na so terera iwe. Oda izirango na so pembera iwe. Upenye udo kudu kumwana we. Break a leg, my friend. Kanango mayorira na so terera iwe. Kanango mayorira na so terera iwe. Oda izirango na so pembera. Upenye udo kudu kumwana we. Break a leg, my friend. Kanango mayorira na so terera iwe. I have been traveling. We're still all traveling. Yes, I have been traveling, 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 traveling.